Greetings, my name is John Fallout, and not long ago, I embarked on a business trip to the enchanting city of Paris. I am employed by a company known as Liquid Funding Laboratories, and my journey was prompted by direct orders from none other than Jeffrey Epstein himself. My task was to secure the lab results of a groundbreaking scientific revelation: the startling claim that George Floyd was, in fact, the true author of William Shakespeare's plays. To facilitate this endeavor, I was entrusted with a hefty briefcase containing the original Stratfloydian manuscripts and was provided a complimentary flight courtesy of Breath Airlines. Little did I realize that accepting this free flight would become one of the most regrettable decisions in the history of Liquid Funding Laboratories. As I boarded the aptly named Floyd plane, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. My journey began with a narrow escape from a potential disaster at the airport, where a Muslim man was detained by security for carrying what appeared to be an explosive device. Thankfully, the police shot his terrorist ass and his family along too. Heart racing, I dashed past the commotion and made it to my gate just in time. Once aboard the aircraft, everything seemed perfectly normal. The flight attendants greeted passengers with warm smiles, and fellow travelers settled into their seats, eagerly anticipating takeoff. Clutching my briefcase, I was filled with anticipation at the thought of visiting Paris for the very first time. As the plane ascended into the clouds, I found myself engrossed in a peculiar movie detailing the absurdity of George Floyd's big-ass nose being auctioned for an astounding $8 million. The sheer ridiculousness of such a valuation left me bewildered on how some ugly-ass person could make $8 million from just their nose. However, as I continued watching, a strange phenomenon began to unfold. The screen flickered, and to my utter disbelief, George Floyd's big-ass nose began to emerge from the display, inching closer to me. Panic surged through my veins as the realization dawned upon me. This was the most terrifying experience of my life. I instinctively moved aside, narrowly avoiding the surreal apparition. To my left, I caught sight of the plane's wing, which appeared to morph into George Floyd's hand. My mind raced with the absurd notion that somehow he was becoming a part of the aircraft itself. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I heard the ominous sounds of the engine struggling to breathe, a chilling echo of Floyd's own fate. It became evident that he did not want the lab results to reach Paris. He was desperate to conceal his identity as the true Shakespeare. Yet, unlike him, I possessed something he lacked: impulse control. As the plane began to spiral out of control, I felt the tension rise. The pilots, however, proved to be skilled enough to keep the aircraft steady. But soon, the engines faltered completely, and in a heart-stopping moment, George Floyd's essence seemed to detach from the plane, plummeting into the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. As icy water engulfed me, a strange sense of calm washed over me. The briefcase, once my priority, slipped from my grasp, lost to the depths below. All that mattered now was survival. With a surge of adrenaline fueling my determination, I kicked my legs and fought my way to the surface, breaking free from the wreckage that had become my prison. The Floyd plane had disintegrated into a chaotic swirl of bubbles and debris, leaving me utterly isolated in the unforgiving sea. Each stroke felt like a battle against the weight of my drenched clothing and the sting of salt water filling my lungs. Yet, I pressed on, propelled by the thought of reaching land. The fury of George Floyd's spirit had cast me into this predicament, but it was my own resolve that would guide me toward Paris. As I swam, an unsettling sensation crept over me, the feeling of being watched by the very eyes of history's greatest conspiracy. But I had a mission to fulfill, and I refused to let the supernatural deter my progress. At last, I reached the shores of France, bruised and utterly exhausted. I clung to the remnants of the briefcase, miraculously intact, with the precious papers inside remaining dry. The sight of the Eiffel Tower, a beacon of hope and the destination I had longed for, urged me onward. I approached the tower with caution, heart racing as I slipped into the shadows, hoping to remain unnoticed. However, fate had other plans in store for me. As I ascended the stairs, breathless and weary, the unimaginable occurred. The George Floyd plane reappeared, crashing into the Eiffel Tower with the wrath of a vengeful spirit. The structure trembled violently, and with a thunderous roar, it collapsed in a shower of metal and sparks, claiming the lives of those caught in its path. I stood frozen in horror from the relative safety of the second floor, feeling the tremors beneath my feet as the world around me crumbled. In that moment, I realized I was the sole survivor, burdened with the weight of our discovery and its catastrophic consequences. With the briefcase at my side, I took a moment to catch my breath, the enormity of the situation pressing down upon my shoulders. I had to find a new way to deliver the Floydian papers to one of Epstein's executives, and quickly, or risk the truth being lost to the annals of history forever. The spirit of George Floyd loomed ominously over the wreckage, a chilling reminder that I was engaged in a race against time and the very forces of destiny itself.